Yes, 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 yes. Woo-wee! You guys are tuned in to Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. I'm your humble host, Tone DeShields II. Before you guys get too comfortable, before you guys kick your feet up, please make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. We are growing very fast here at Chalk It Up Sports, and the show does not move without the people. And the show does not move without the Eagles win. Shout out to the Philadelphia Eagles for taking care of business, even though it was gritty, it was grimy, it was ugly, it was physical. It didn't come without its casualties, but the Philadelphia Eagles still found a way to get it done. And this is what playoff football is all about. I have so much to nitpick from this game. I'm gonna make that very clear to you guys. I have a lot to nitpick from this game. I mean, we all do, right? We can nitpick, Jalen Hurts' performance, right? First performance in 3 weeks, right? Hasn't played football in about a month. We can nitpick the play calling, right? We all weren't a fan of Kellen Moore's decision-making in key spots, right? We can nitpick their ability to sustain drives. We can nitpick the fact that they didn't take advantage of early turnovers in the game, right? You force, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you force 3 turnovers prior to the final interception, and you only turn that into 7 points for the most part, if I'm not mistaken. So we can really nitpick this game down to the gristle. But I got to be honest with you guys. You live to fight another day. You live to fight another day. Like I said, this game didn't come without its casualties. Green Bay was dropping like flies. Nakobe Dean went down with looks like serious knee injury. He got carted off. I hope it's not as bad as it looked. Saquon Barkley went down with a little bit of a wrist injury, but came back into the game. This game really had its fair share of casualties. Reed Blankenship actually went out for a couple snaps, right? This was a physical game. This was an extremely physical game. And first and foremost, before I get too deep into the Philadelphia Eagles, right? Before I break down what I saw from them and talk about my perspective when it comes to them, I want to give the utmost respect and the utmost credit to the Green Bay Packers. More specifically, I want to give credit and respect to their defense. Their defense came to play. And the Green Bay Packers defense did not, I repeat, they did not make it easy on Jalen Hurts. They didn't make it easy for Saquon Barkley at times throughout that game. They didn't make it easy for A.J. Brown. They didn't make it easy for a lot of those guys, right? They were blitzing. They were getting pressure. They really didn't make it easy. So I want to give the utmost respect to the Green Bay Packers defense. And notice I said the defense, because I'm going to talk my shit about Jordan Love in a little bit. Don't get it twisted. I'm going to talk my shit about Jordan Love in a little bit. But their defense, I'm going to give them the respect they rightfully deserved. Because although they didn't force any turnovers, they settled down and they made life real complicated for Kellen Moore and Jalen Hurts and all those guys. But Jalen Hurts made enough plays to win the football game. And this is the kind of mindset, the kind of guy you need no matter what. Even though things weren't going his way or wasn't going his way. Even though there were stretches in the game where he couldn't complete a pass. Like he went 6 for 6 on his first 6 passes. And then I think he missed like his first or his next 5 or 7 passes, whatever it was. There was a stretch from the second quarter going into the third quarter where Jalen Hurts was ice cold. Ice cold. But nonetheless, still found a way to win the football game. And that's what you need in the playoffs. You see, as much as I can break down this game and talk negatively, this is the NFL playoffs, and you have to prove that you can win games like this. And this is why I believe in the Philadelphia Eagles and why my courage, why my confidence is not wavering. Because you have to prove that you can win these type of games. There are so many teams who are very good at blowing people out. We've seen teams that know how to blow you out. But when the game is close, when it's nip and tuck, and when you need to make a play here and there, and you got to have that drive, you got to have that score, you got to have that first down, you got to convert, you need that field goal, whatever it is. When the game is nip and tuck, when there's a hairline between success and failure, who will you be? Who will you be? I don't want to get into the conversations about, oh man, that was ugly, or we should be concerned. Listen, this is the playoffs. You got to win. And then we can talk about it in the film room later on. I don't give a hell or give a damn. Rather, Jalen Hurts didn't turn the ball over. He went 13 for 21, only 131 passing yards, but he did throw 2 passing touchdowns. Had a 111.4 passer rating. Pretty efficient, although he did go have a stretch where he missed like 5 or 6 or 7 passes in a row. Saquon Barkley, 25 carries, 119 yards, averaged over 4 yards a carry. Saquon Barkley could have, and this is where I got to give Saquon Barkley some love, man, because he a better man than me. And we're going to talk about the defense. Oh, trust me. We're going to talk about the Eagles defense because they're the reason we won this game. They're the reason this game didn't get out of hand. We're going to talk about this defense. But Saquon Barkley is a better man than me. Saquon Barkley is a better man than me. Quite frankly, if I would have broke that run, I would have took that shit to the fucking crib. I'm sorry, man. I would have took that shit to the crib. He's a better man than me. I'm sorry. He's a better man than me. When he broke that run at the end of the game, I was like, go, go, go. And he slid. And I understand why he slid. Win the game, get out of there, take the knee, you won. You're up by double digits, you won. He's a better man than me. Much better man than me. I'm telling you that right now. It was a quiet game for A.J. Brown. At times, it looked like A.J. Brown struggled to get some separation. Am I tripping when I say that? There were moments where it looked like A.J. Brown was struggling to get some separation. But also at the same time, I wasn't really a fan of the play calling and the routes and how they were deploying those receivers. We had too many long developing routes, too many plays that took too long to execute. You knew Green Bay was going to be flying downhill. Kellen Moore, Jalen Hurts, you guys got to do a better job at coming up with a better game plan to get that ball out of the quarterback's hands quicker. You have to do a better job. But you win the game, and you win by double digits. Jake Elliott, although he did miss the extra point, he went 3 for 3 from the field goal range. 3 for 3. So he helped us put this game away. Helped us put the game out of reach. Offensive line was dealing with some miscommunication issues in the first half. There were a few moments where the offensive line had some miscues. I felt like some of those guys had some jitters. I felt like Mekhi Becton had a little bit of jitters. There was a couple times where there was some miscommunication on the interior. I feel like Mekhi Becton had some first time playoff jitters. Right? Credit to Jahan Dotson. Credit to Jahan Dotson. Credit to Jahan Dotson. He scores not only his first touchdown as a Philadelphia Eagle, he caught his first playoff touchdown. Came at a beautiful time. Want to give a shout out to the special teams. Orrin Burks started the game off right. Cracked Kayshawn Nixon. And I told y'all he could be had. I told y'all Kayshawn Nixon, he's suspect. He's suspect. I told y'all. And look, he folded. Fumbled the ball on the opening kickoff. Set us up for a pretty easy touchdown. Jalen Hurts' first pass back was a touchdown. That was inspiring until he got past that 6 attempt mark. But nonetheless, I'm not going to sit here and overreact and say I'm concerned about Jalen Hurts. I'm not going to say that. I'm not. First game back in a month. Hasn't played football, was dealing with a concussion. You get the win. It was gritty. I'm not going to overreact to Jalen Hurts' rough start. Let's put it that way. I'm not going to overreact. I won't overreact. Devontae Smith came in crucial, catching all 4 of his targets. Dallas Goedert went an amazing, probably the play of the game. He had one of the nastiest stiff arms that I've it was bully ball. It was bully ball. And I'm going to get to your super chat, y'all, and I'm going to get to all your comments, trust me. Dallas Goedert was playing bully ball. Shout out to him. Now, let's get to this defense. Let's get to this Eagles defense. This Eagles defense was phenomenal. Phenomenal. You forced 4 turnovers. Well, the defense forced 3 turnovers. Special teams forced 1. But the Eagles as a whole forced 4 turnovers. Zach Bond had an interception. Darius Slay had an interception. Quinyon Mitchell got his first interception of his young career. Phenomenal, phenomenal, phenomenal. There were moments where they tried to pick on Quinyon, and Quinyon had a moment. Quinyon had a moment where he basically gave up the pass interference. I felt like the receiver sold it a little bit, but regardless, Quinyon, you got to be better. And they tried to pick on him too. They tried to pick on him, but he forced them to settle for a field goal. They tried to, and he responded. Shout out to Quinyon Mitchell. Appreciate him. Like I said, Quinyon Mitchell, Darius Slay, Zach Bond, interceptions. CJ almost had one at the beginning of the game, but I digress. How about Nolan Smith? How about Nolan Smith? Nolan Smith. Nolan Smith, 8 total tackles, 4 solo, 2 sacks, 2 tackle for loss, 2 quarterback hits. I mean, Nolan Smith was spectacular. Clutch sacks on 3rd down. Nolan Smith has arrived. He has arrived. And my man, Coach Marcus, spoke about this. He managed to bulk up over the offseason without sacrificing his get-off, without sacrificing his speed. I have to give Nolan Smith all the flowers in the world because I had my concerns in the preseason. I will be honest. Now, granted, Nolan Smith was coming into the playoffs with 6.5 sacks on the season. Very, very, very great start to his young career. He didn't play much his rookie year, so I don't want to hold that against him. His second year, put up 6.5 sacks. I'll be honest. I had my little concerns in the preseason because even though he had sacks, I still was like, he should be dominating a lot of these guys more. But maybe I was being greedy. Maybe I was nitpicking, right? But Nolan Smith, if you count, I mean, obviously preseason stats don't count. I get that. I totally understand that preseason stats do not count. But let me make sure I got this right here. Let me make sure I got this right. Nolan Smith had a sack in the first preseason game. He also, make sure I got this right here. Hold on. He also had a sack in the Patriots preseason game. And let me make sure I got this right. Okay. He had 2 sacks in the preseason, 6.5 sacks in the regular season, and he got it in his playoff debut or in his his playoff debut as a starter. Yes, he got 2 more sacks. So from the preseason up until the playoffs, Nolan Smith has 10.5 sacks. 10.5 sacks. And again, I know preseason stats don't count. I get that. But young guy taking over for Hassan Reddick, I mean, not bad. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. So I got to give Nolan Smith his flowers, man. The defense was just great. Defense is great, man. Did an amazing job making life hell for Jordan Love. Did an amazing job making life hell for him. An amazing job. It says here, Green Bay Packers, the Eagles did struggle. The Eagles struggled on third down defensively. They struggled. Green Bay was 7 for 13 on third down. The Eagles were 7 for 11 on third down. 2 for 11 on third down. So Eagles got to get better situationally. Got to get better situationally. Eagles defense allowed 302 total yards. Gave up 5 yards per play. They allowed Jordan Love. The team allowed 195 passing yards, net passing yards. Jordan Love went 20 for 33, averaged 5.6 yards per throw, threw 3 interceptions, sacked twice. Didn't really allow Josh Jacobs to take over the game. Josh Jacobs had a moment. He had a play for sure. He had that. Josh Jacobs had that one run that completely shocked me. I know he's a great running back, but the way he ran through that, the way he ran through them was like, whoa. But to hold that offense to 107 rushing yards, all things considered, to hold Josh Jacobs to under 100 yards and a touchdown, phenomenal. Now, again, Green Bay, they lost a lot of bodies on offense, receivers especially, offensive linemen. They lost bodies all over the place. But it's the name of the game. It's the name of the game. It comes with the territory. Next man up is the playoffs. You got to make a play. But Jordan Love, is this your king? Is Jordan Love your king? I mean, look, Jalen Hurts didn't have a phenomenal game. Jalen Hurts had a very average game. 13 for 21, 131 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns. Very average. Very average. But he didn't turn the ball over. He didn't panic in the pocket. He didn't allow the pressure to force him into a mistake. He didn't allow the pressure to force him into a mistake. How often did we see Jordan Love get forced into a mistake? Be it because of pressure, good coverage, maybe a boneheaded decision by him. How often did Jordan Love make a mistake? This is the playoffs. It's not going to come easy. Yes, Lamar Jackson looked great. The Ravens looked great. They're in playoff form. The Bills, they started off slow, but then they cracked the game open in the second half. We could have did that, but Saquon's a good guy. We could have made this a 29-point game, but we could have made this a 29-10 game, but Saquon's a good guy. But Buffalo started off a little slow. They cracked it open in the fourth quarter, right? Houston started off slow. Their defense their defense forced a lot of turnovers, helped produce points, even though Stroud didn't have his best playoff outing, right? This is the playoffs, people. This is the playoffs. We know what the main thing is, and that's winning. I will not sit here and say Jalen Hurts had a phenomenal game. I will not say that. He had an okay game. It was okay. He had a rough stretch through the second and the beginning of the third quarter. He had a rough stretch. And when your defense is forcing that many turnovers, people expect more points. That's just the reality. Eagles fans were booing at halftime. Understandably so. Your defense has forced, what, 2 turnovers at that point? 3 turnovers, I think? Your defense forced turnovers and you didn't capitalize enough. So I can understand the frustration with that. This game shouldn't have been close. It shouldn't have been close. The way our defense was playing, all offense had to do was just keep pace. But Jalen Hurts clearly looked rusty. That time off clearly affected him. Clearly. It's funny. Listen, for those of you who think we're in trouble, you're smoking crack. The way that defense played, you can beat anybody. Perspective is what's important. The way that defense played, you can beat anybody. That's just the reality. Jalen Hurts didn't play the last 3 games. You know? He came out sharp. And then he kind of, so that's why I'm not going to kill him. And again, he didn't turn the ball over. This is my problem with some of y'all. Like, this is the playoffs. Well, this is not a beauty contest. In the playoffs, every game is not going to be a blowout. As a matter of fact, in the playoffs, you have to prove that you can win games like that. The reason Green Bay lost, obviously because of injury, but the reason Green Bay lost is because they failed to prove that they can win a game like that. We proved that. We were in games like that throughout the season. The Ravens game, case in point. The Browns game, case in point. The first Commanders matchup. The Saints game. You have to prove that you can win games like that, especially when it matters most. And regardless of how you may feel about Jalen Hurts' performance, regardless of how average the performance was, he made enough plays to put the team in position to win and kick field goals, especially towards the back end. He threw 2 touchdowns, went 13 for 21. What is that? Let me do the math on that. 13 divided by 21. Completed 62% of his passes. Completed 62% of his passes. Not the best. He's been completing 68% of his passes on the season. He's been completing 68% of his passes on the season. But first game back in 4 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it is, I'm not doubting a damn thing, y'all. I believe in this thing. Remember in 2017, 2018, that playoff run, we started off a little shaky in the first round, or the first game, the divisional round. We started off a little shaky against the Atlanta Falcons. And then we came out like gangbusters from there on. Never forget, defense wins championships. You see, some of you guys may think we're in trouble because Jalen Hurts stumbled a bit and the offense came out a little bit slow, or they kind of flatlined a little bit. Some of you guys may think we're in trouble. But trust me when I tell you this. Trust me when I tell you this. When you have the talent they have, all it takes is a week and some film study to turn it around. When you have the talent they have on offense, you see, it's not like you look at the Eagles and you say, they're clearly missing a guy, or they're clearly, not as talented as the other opponent, right? When you look at the offense, you know they can put up points, they can be dominant at the line of scrimmage, they can push the ball down the field, they can sustain drives and boa constrict an opponent. They can put up points with this talent, especially Hurts, A.J. Brown, Smith, Goddard, Saquon, Smith, they have the talent. So again, although the offense stumbled throughout the game, all it takes is just some recovery, some good film study, and you'll be back on track. But what you can't fix is when you have a bad defense. That's what people need to understand. When you don't have a defense, you can't fix that on the fly. When your defense isn't playing well, that's not something that you can just fix in a week. That's the reality. So I would be concerned if this defense gave up 30 and we won, 34-30? I would be more concerned if the score was 34-30 Eagles rather than 22-10 Packers. I don't know if you guys agree with that or not, but if we won this game still and the score was 34-30 instead of the score we see here, 22-10, I would be concerned about this Eagles team. I would be concerned. Because that tells me your defense is not translating to the playoffs. Your defense is falling off. I'm okay with this, even though it was a struggle bus watching it. I'm still a fan. So I'm going to be emotional watching the game. That's why I don't stream when I watch the game. But when I really take my emotions out of it and think contextually and really think about what it takes in the playoffs and think about what I've watched all my life when it comes to playoff football, this shit ain't easy. Especially when your quarterback missed damn near a month of football. And he comes back and he still plays well enough to win the game. You got to prove you can win games like this. You got to be able to prove you can win games like this. That's my thoughts on it. I want to get to your comments, though. I want to get to the super chats real quick, though. Shout out to you guys. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Thank you so much for subscribing to the content. Thank you so much for hitting that like button. It means a lot to me. It goes a long way. You guys are truly, truly a part of this conglomerate here. You guys are truly a part of this team. All right. Let's get to these super chats. My man Trenton Wright with the $4.99. He says, Hurts is the only quarterback from his class still in the playoffs. I'm tired of people pretending he's not elite. No, Pack, no. Laughing my ass off. Listen, that wasn't an elite performance, but it was the performance you needed. I'm going to be objective about it. Hurts didn't deliver an elite performance, but he delivered the performance that was necessary in order to continue. You live to fight another day. You live to fight another week. So I'm with you. Hurts is the only quarterback from his draft class that has a lengthy history of winning. Jalen Hurts is the most successful quarterback from his draft class. People don't want to talk about that, though. They want to talk about what he can't do. They want to talk about how much he's carried on this team, and they want to continue to discredit what he does. They want to, and I'm telling you, watch on Monday. They're going to come up with so many narratives. They're going to string so many threads and say, should we be concerned about Jalen Hurts going, continuing to the playoffs? Should we be concerned about Jalen Hurts in the divisional round? Is Jalen Hurts holding the Eagles back? Watch all the narratives. Is Jalen Hurts still dealing with a concussion? Watch all the narratives. But you know what they won't talk about? You know what they won't give credence? You know what they won't put the spotlight on? They won't talk about Justin Herbert laying an egg, throwing 3 interceptions. I'm sorry, he threw 4. They won't talk about Jordan Love, who just got paid, throwing 3 interceptions. Justin Herbert, Jordan Love, Tua, and Joe Burrow were drafted in the same draft class as Jalen Hurts. Not only were they drafted in the same draft class, all those guys I mentioned are first rounders. Jalen Hurts is the second rounder. And he has more career success, more playoff success than all those guys. He has shown the ability to sustain winning more than those guys. You know what's funny? Last year, Jalen Hurts didn't have a defense. Still made the playoffs, though. Still won 11 games. This year, Joe Burrow didn't have a defense, putting up all those numbers. Couldn't find a way to win. Couldn't find a way to get his team in the playoffs. Couldn't find a way to win double-digit games. I'm tired of people acting like Jalen Hurts is this charity case that's just benefiting from a situation he's in. Now, don't get me wrong. It's important where you get drafted. It's more important where you get drafted than when you get drafted. And Jalen Hurts happened to get drafted by a well-respected organization that takes winning seriously. Unfortunately, Justin Herbert, Tua, and Joe Burrow got drafted somewhere or got drafted to places that don't take winning seriously. Jordan Love got drafted to a place that takes winning seriously. It's funny, the last 2 quarterbacks to get drafted out of the guys I mentioned was Love in the late first round and Hurts in the mid to early second round. They both got drafted to organizations that want to win, really. That don't mind putting money in the right places. That know how to build teams. I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. Jalen Hurts is the only quarterback left in his draft class still playing football right now. And whether we like it or not, he outplayed Jordan Love today. He outplayed Jordan Love today. Let the people talk. It's all good. I ain't worried about that. Thank you for the super chat, Trent. I appreciate it, man. Everybody wants to make excuses for other quarterbacks. When Jalen Hurts and name come up, you know what they say? He has to be better. He's holding them back. Anybody can run this offense. And then we see teams going, other quarterbacks are going there, and they don't really run it the same way. You can't buy into the narratives, man. You can't. At the end of the day, you got to win. You got to win. Thank you, Trent, for the super chat. Alex with the $1.99 super chat. He says Nolan with more playoff sacks than TJ Watt, Miles, and Micah. That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, Nolan Smith had a game. Nolan Smith had a hell of a game, man. Shout out to him. Green Wingman with the $10 super. Thank you, Greeny. I appreciate you. He says, like you said, when the margins are tight, this team is the most complete and prepared in the dance. Don't got to look pretty as long as you get the dub. It don't got to look pretty unless you get the dub, man. Listen, this is the playoffs, y'all. This is the playoffs. The offense stumbled a little bit. All it takes is some good film study and some good recovery, and they'll be back on track. The defense looked phenomenal. Held Green Bay to 10 points. Forced Jordan Love to turn the ball over 3 times. Special teams forced a turnover on the opening kickoff. The Eagles came to play. The Eagles were hitting out there. I don't wish injury on nobody, but the Eagles came to play. They were the more physical team, and they outlasted Green Bay. It's just that simple. Alex with the $1.99 super chat. Thank you, Alex. I appreciate it. Back again. He says Green Bay, the best defense they faced in the playoffs. Oh, he says Green Bay is the best defense they're facing in the playoffs. Gotcha. You're talking about Philly. Yeah, it's funny. Let me think about this actually, because the Ravens defense has improved, but that's on the other side of things. But as far as in the NFC, the Rams don't have a defense like Green Bay or the Eagles. The Buccaneers don't have a defense like Green Bay. Washington doesn't have a defense like Green Bay. They got pieces, but not an entirely reliable defense. Who else? The Lions don't have a defense like Green Bay. So you may be onto something, Alex. You may be onto something. That Green Bay's defense was tough. They were gritty. They made it hard for those guys. I got to give respect to Green Bay's defense, but Jordan Love, despicable. Despicable. Make sure you guys smash that like button. You guys are tuned in to Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. I'm your humble host, Tone DeShields II. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the support. All right, let's keep it going. Thank you for the super chat, Alex. Devontae with the $5 super. He says, yesterday was my birthday. I turned 28. This was a great win for my boys. Shout out to you, Tone, with the content. Keep killing it, bro. Devontae, my fellow Capricorn brother, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you, brother. You know, I turned 30 on December 31st, so man, oh man, enjoy your 20s, my guy. What's left of it. Enjoy what's left of your 20s. I just turned 30, and you know what? I feel good about it. I don't mind aging. There's some people who are afraid to get old. I'm looking forward to it. Tay McClendon with the super chat. He says, Jalen's first game back in a month. People relax. Yes, that's how I feel. Right? And listen, you know, me personally, I didn't want to buy into the rust. Right? I felt like Jalen was going to have a good game. He had an okay game. Okay. It was just okay. I think everybody downplayed the rust. There were some people who took the rust very seriously. There were some people, especially guys on the team, that downplayed the rust prior to the game. But it was clear. It was clear. Seeing Jalen Hurts after those 3 games he missed made me think about a guy like Deshaun Watson. And this is what I mean by this when I say it. Deshaun Watson has yet to play a full season of football since coming back from his scandal. And remember, before he even came back before he even came back or before he was even eligible to play, he was suspended. He missed like a season and some change of football, right? And he still can't get back. You see how much impact and Deshaun Watson was considered to be the next guy up, one of the most talented guys we've seen play, right? And he missed a season and some change, and you saw how much damage it did to his performance. You saw how much damage it did to his timing, his pocket awareness. You saw what that time off did to a guy like Deshaun Watson. Jalen Hurts only missed 3 games, and he looked rusty. Football isn't a sport that you could just hop back into and pick up where you left off. You got to take your lumps. You got to take your lumps. You saw with Jalen Hurts, the timing was off on some of the slants. You know, it just seemed like timing was off. That's what it seemed like. It seemed like timing was off. It seemed like the offensive line, you know, they struggled a bit. They had some holding calls. There was some miscommunication on the interior. You know, it's okay. Football is not a sport that you can take time away from and think you could just come back and take over and run shit. This is not that kind of game. Football is unforgiving. It's a sport you have to respect. It's a sport that requires preparation, consistency. So for Jalen Hurts to come back from missing almost a month of football complete 62% of his passes, throw for 2 touchdowns, and also, if I'm not mistaken, he rushed for 36 yards. You know, so basically Jalen Hurts had 167 total yards of offense, averaged around 6 yards per play for himself, and 2 passing touchdowns, no turnovers. Did get sacked twice, though. Had a 111.4 passer rating. You cannot overreact to a brother who missed nearly a month of football. He's going to get back on track. Trust me. He's going to see the film. He got those first. He got that bug off his back. Now he's going to be sharper in the following game. Trust me on that. Thank you for the super chat, Tay. Fresh and clean. He said Jimmy Hoffa said he slept on our number 1 defense. Yo, first of all, I want to give respect to Jimmy Hoffa. He's been a good sport throughout the whole process. He's been a good sport. I want to give Jimmy Hoffa his respect because he supports the channel. Even though when we beat him in week 1, he did disappear for a while. But regardless, he's been here. He's been supporting. He's been talking his ish. He's been standing 10 toes down. And he's in the live stream after the game, keeping it a buck. I don't understand how he slept on a number 1 defense, but that's on him. But I got a lot of respect for Jimmy. I'm telling you that right now. A ton of respect for him. So that's my man. All right. Private McClunky with the super chat. He says, I want to apologize to Nolan Smith for where he was. Excuse me. Private McClunky says, I want to apologize to Nolan Smith for where he was picked. I thought he was a bust at first, but he's legit. Yo, people forget Nolan Smith was drafted on the back end of the first round. I think Nolan Smith was drafted around 30th overall, 31st overall. So Nolan Smith could have easily been a second round pick. Easily. When you get to the back end of the first round like that, when you start getting into pick 25, matter of fact, when you get past pick 20 in the first round, now we're talking about a hairline difference between a first rounder and a second round talent. There are guys that went in the second round of his draft class that could have went in the first, depending on team needs or depending on how a team valued them. Nolan Smith, although he was drafted in the first round, could have easily been drafted in the second round. Nolan Smith is making tremendous strides in his career right now. 6.5 sacks on the regular season, 2 sacks in the playoffs, 2 sacks in the preseason. Nolan Smith, since the 2024 campaign has begun, from the preseason up until this game ended, Nolan Smith has accumulated 10.5 sacks, 2 in the preseason, 6.5 in the regular season, 2 in the playoffs. Nolan Smith has arrived. Green Wingman, my guy, he says if Hurts was hot garbage, then Love was cold diarrhea in a Dixie cup. Some of y'all need to keep it in perspective. Exactly, man. Jordan Love was horrendous. Horrendous. And I'm tired of some of y'all saying Nick was calling the plays. Nick is not calling the plays. Stop saying that. Nick Sirianni is not calling the plays. Jordan Love was awful today. Absolutely awful. 3 interceptions. Listen, let people continue to doubt us. Y'all know this. Y'all know this is where we thrive at. I don't want nobody to respect us until after we win the Super Bowl. I don't want anybody to respect us until after we win the Super Bowl. I want everybody coming into the link sleeping on us. I want them to sleep on us until we get the confetti falling on us. That green and white confetti. I want them to keep sleeping. I want them to keep doubting. I want them to keep saying the Eagles are not Super Bowl contenders. I want them to keep saying that. Please keep that energy up. I love it. No way. No way. No way. Hold on. No way. Oh man, what's the verdict on Nakobe? What's the verdict on Nakobe? Nakobe is leaving on crutches and a knee brace. Oh my God, he not playing next week. He not playing next week. Oh my God. I don't know what the injury is, but to see him leaving in a knee brace and crutches, not a good look right now. Not a good look. Not a good look, man. Not a good look. Oh man. Not a good look, man. So next man up. Next man up. Oren Burks is really good on special teams. He struggled a bit. He struggled a bit today. I think we may see Jeremiah Trotter Jr. start next week. Either or. Listen, Oren Burks is good. Oren Burks, he's a very good special teamer, but he is limited defensively. I think I may rather have Trotter out there. He's young. See, this is the thing, man. Fangio's gonna have to make a decision. Do I go with the better athlete or do I go with the experience? That's going to be the conversation that Vic Fangio has to have with himself. Does he go with Oren Burks, who has playoff experience, or does he go with the much more athletic, the much more rangy linebacker? And Trotter is better in coverage. You guys are right. That's going to be a challenge. That's going to be a challenge for Vic Fangio this week. What he does there. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm very much willing to see Trotter Jr. go in there and make some plays. I'm willing. And guess what? You still got Zach Bond out there. Remember, Zach Bond is the all-pro. Not taking nothing away from Nakobe, but Zach Bond is our all-pro. Zach Bond is the guy that really makes a lot of the plays. Nakobe made a lot of plays for the Eagles, but Zach Bond had an interception today. He's good in run defense. You know, he can rush the passer. Zach Bond is the better player. But we got to see. We got to see, man. We got to see. All right, let's get to this next super chat, y'all. Thank y'all for supporting the show. It means a lot to me. Shar with the $4.99 says defense and a running game are always going to be there. Jalen has the luxury to roll into. Why am I struggling to read today? My glasses must not be working. Defense and the running game are always going to be there. Jalen has the luxury to roll into it. We're good. That's what I'm saying. The running game is going to always be there. The defense is going to be there. Jalen is going to be fine. Shar, I couldn't agree with you more. Dank Bergang says Burks with a full week of practice will help. And he also said, are we going to forget that Burks had 17 tackles last week? That's a good point, Dank. I'm not going to lie. That's a good point. And he also did come into a precarious situation. he practiced, right, in terms of seeing what was going on, but he didn't get the starting reps. So he was put in a rough spot. Oren Burks has made plays for the Eagles. Let's not get it twisted, though. Oren Burks got this game cracking. I'm not going to sit here and kill Oren Burks. He struggled a bit on defense. I'm going to be curious to see what Vic Fangio prioritizes or what he values, right? But I bet you Oren Burks starts next week. And we've seen Vic Fangio make a move if the guy can't hack it. We've seen that. Burks is limited. He's limited. But he's good in run defense. He struggles in coverage a bit. But I think a full week of practice, that could change things. Dank, you bring up a very good point. That could be a game changer. And San Monku, you may be right as well. Put Bergson on obvious run situations, Trotter Jr. on obvious pass situations. That could be the case. But then at that point, now you're showing your hand a little bit. And teams start to key in on tendencies. And they start to pay attention to your personnel groupers, and they know what you're trying to do. Regardless, though, we'll see. Thank you, Shar. The Big Ten Repper with the super chat. Thank you, my man. He says, forget what anybody got to say. Forget what anybody has to say. That's negative. This was an excellent win considering all the circumstances. Also, where are the Packer fans in here go? Yo, the only one who stood tall was Jimmy Hoffa. Jimmy Hoffa was the only one who stood tall. So I'm going to give him his respect. All those other Packers fans, they hoes. They hoes. But Jimmy Hoffa, he stood tall. Hoffa came into the live stream. He took his lumps. He respected the game. And it was what it was. So shout out to Jimmy Hoffa. Those other Green Bay fans that try to come in here, y'all suckers. Shout out to Jimmy Hoffa, man. And shout out to my man Big Ten Repper with the super chat. And Rel Blunt with the $4.99 super chat. He says, Tone, Josh Jacobs was truly the best running back the Eagles will see in the NFC. The defense will be freer next week. Hurts got to beat 2022 Flacco. That's funny as hell, man. I think he can be better than that, but I get what you're trying to say. All he has to do is just manage, right? Make plays, control time of possession, convert, score. I get it, right? But he needs to be better than that. But you bring up a good point, right? Josh Jacobs is probably the best running back you're going to see in the NFC. Jahmyr Gibbs makes an argument for himself, though. We are getting ahead of ourselves. And that kid, Bucky Irvin, is pretty good for Tampa Bay. He's pretty good. And Kyron Williams with the head of steam can be pretty good as well. But Josh Jacobs definitively is the best running back we'll see. The next guy, a close second, may be Jahmyr Gibbs. And that's, when we see them. Shout out to Royal Blunt with the super chat, man. I appreciate you, man. All right. We're going to get out of here pretty soon, you guys. I really do appreciate the love. I appreciate the support, man. I got to say, before I get out of here, though, the Eagles started this game off the way you want your team to start off a playoff game. They were physical. They dictated the action. They forced turnovers on the opening play of the game, setting up their offense. It's called complementary football. Each hand watches the other. So although the offense didn't have their best performance, I promise you it'll be better next week. I promise you that. They're too talented. They're too good. Your quarterback missed nearly a month of football. Relax. You won the game by double digits. Your defense forced 3 turnovers. Your special teams forced a fumble on the opening kickoff. They dictated the pace. They established the physicality. The Eagles set the tone. That's what you want to see from your football team. Special teams came to play. Defense came to play. Offense, they stumbled a bit. It's okay. They are a football team, not a football offense or a football defense. They are a team. They are a team. And when your brother's struggling, you pick him up and you hold him down. You feel what I'm saying? So I'm not going to overreact to this game. I'm glad Jalen Hurts was able to do what he did. Again, Jalen Hurts went 13 for 21, completed 62% of his passes. Again, he normally completes around 68 on the season, but in this game, 13 for 21, a 62% completion percentage, 2 passing touchdowns, no turnovers, a 111.4 passer rating. Trust me, the Green Bay Packers would have killed for that. Meanwhile, Jordan Love, 20 for 33, 212 passing yards, less than 200 if you want to do the net yards, but 212 passing yards for him, no touchdown passes, 3 interceptions, a 41.5 passer rating. Both quarterbacks were sacked twice. Both quarterbacks had to deal with their fair share of pressure. The reality is, one guy handled it better. And also, Green Bay suffered a ton of injuries at the wide receiver position. They suffered injuries on the offensive line. And then when the game was pretty much in crunch time or starting to end, they suffered some injuries on defense. So, listen, it's the war of attrition. It's the lay of the land. We can't make any excuses for people. It's next man up. It's next man up. Because if we lost guys, would the Green Bay Packers make an excuse for us? Would any other fan base, would these publications make an excuse for us? They would say we're frauds and we're failures. So we can't make any excuses. Things happen in the football game. You got to make a play. Simple as that. Simple as that. And you got to adjust. So I'm not going to kill Jalen Hurts for his performance. Was it average? Yes. Will he have to do more likely going forward? Absolutely. Or will he have to be more efficient, more effective? Yes. Yes, he will. 167 total yards of offense, 2 passing touchdowns, completed 62% of his passes, going 13 for 21, 6 rush attempts, averaged 6 yards a carry, averaged about 6 yards per play for himself, made key checks at the line, battled the blitz, didn't panic, didn't turn the ball over. I'm not going to overreact. I'm not going to overreact. And for the record, you guys, our possible opponents for next week will either be the Vikings, the Buccaneers, or the Rams. Unfortunately, we are unable to play the Washington Commanders unless they make it to the NFC Conference Championship. But our 3 possible opponents are Minnesota, Tampa Bay, and Los Angeles. Those are the scenarios. Smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Super grateful to be here. Super grateful for you guys supporting the channel the way you guys do. Goes without saying, I don't take it for granted. I think the Philadelphia Eagles did what needed to be done to win this game. Defense showed the hell out. Defense showed out. Nakobe Dean had 2 tackles for loss. Nolan Smith had 2 sacks on the game. Zach Bond and Quinyon Mitchell had a pass deflection. And also, Quinyon Mitchell had an interception, and Zach Bond had an interception. Who else? Jalen Carter had a pass deflection. They did a good job making life hard for Josh Jacobs. They didn't allow him to wreck the game. He had one run that really hurt us. But other than that, Josh Jacobs was held in check. And I can live with that. Because that offense goes, apparently, as far as Josh Jacobs goes. So I'm content. And you move on to the next round, the divisional round. You take it with a grain of salt. You take it on the chin. You move on. You go back to the drawing board. You hit the film room. You recover. And you clean up the mistakes. Simple as that. Remember, This offense is talented enough to bounce back. We're not limited anywhere on offense. We have guys everywhere. This offensive line, the receiver, the quarterback, the running back, the tight end. We have everything we need to fix our issues. It was just sluggish. The quarterback missed nearly a month. They'll be all right. That defense, though, that's the story. That's the story. And it's straight like that, you guys. I've been your humble host, Tone DeShields II. And you guys have been tuned in to Chalk It Up Sports, a playoff edition of Chalk It Up Sports, a victory edition of Chalk It Up Sports, a gritty, a grimy, a nasty edition of Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game.